Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Six Rings Kane Show on a new night, Monday night now, baby. We're really excited, actually, to have Eric McLean on the show here, college football analyst, co-host of The Huddle. Coach, yes! All right!
First touchdown of the year.
Miami Hurricanes, yeah. You know the name already. It's Mercy. Ha ha. It's a six-ring Kane show. Can't forget the name though. Got Jazz, Blue, Vision, DJ, break the game code. Ain't no changing them, ain't no breaking them. We reporting live from the Hall Rock Stadium. Ball 14 for the orange and green. We see the six-ring champs. It's more than a dream. This is life on the field. Beyond 100 yards, a hurricane that's never still put a damage to your squad.
What's wrong with us? Seriously.
What's wrong with us? We're Miami Hurricanes fans.
Welcome to the Six Rings Kane Show, a show dedicated to Miami Hurricane sports, featuring the legendary Larry Bluestein, Jazz Santana, Vish, and Danny Gillette. Let's go Canes.
What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. The degenerate life continues here with Miami Hurricanes fandom. And what's going on, fellas? How you guys doing?
A win.
I feel better after a win.
A little bit better, right? A little bit better this week.
Yeah.
I mean, I should take full credit for that. I went down there.
Oh, there you go.
Well, yeah.
Your first win.
Third time's a charm. This time,
I know. I was
right?
about to say, like, let's not talk about the past. 1-0. That's what I am.
Are you going to Clemson this week?
No, actually, we'll talk about that a little bit. I think we're gonna do a little watch party.
Yeah.
Jazz and I are doing well. We'll just go ahead and talk about it right now. Doing an Alzheimer's walk in Miami on Saturday morning. So
nice.
It's at FIU. So Jazz and I will be walking in that, and then the game's at 3:30. We'll do some kind of a watch party. I think we're planning.
I'm glad you remembered where it's at, because if not, I'd probably be at Bicentennial Park on Saturday morning. So thanks for reminding me that it's at FIU. That's a lot better, by the way. A lot better than Biscayne Boulevard and all that crap over there. It's kind of crazy. But we'll talk a little bit. We'll get a little bit more into that. We've got hey, what up, Gussie Gus? We've got a cool show today. We got someone here already, and we'll bring him out in just a second. Our very special guest, friend of the families here, friend of the show. But before we get to that, let's give a shout out to our sponsor. Let's talk a little bit about Manscaped. Here we go, manscaped.com. Look, me and Blue know about Manscaped. All right, Manscaped is absolutely an amazing product. Okay, before everything, make sure you go to manscaped.com when you place your order. Put in the code 5RSN. That's the number 5 and then the letters RSN. You will get 20% off plus free shipping as well. So make sure when you go in there, check them out. Go to manscaped.com, put in the code 5RSN, and you'll get 20% off plus free shipping. It's that performance package for me, Blue. I don't know about you, but I've got that 4.0 package where it gets you the lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the weed whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, the crop preserver. It also gives you the crop reviver and the performance boxer briefs. Super comfortable briefs. And you actually get a little travel bag as well to hold your stuff. I got it right here. I always got it ready. There you go. There it is right there. All right. Make sure you guys go and get yourselves some of this really, really good, these really good products that they have over there at manscaped.com. They are the official sponsor of the Six Rings Kane show here and of the 5 Reasons Sports Network also. So check them out. Manscaped.com, code word 5RSN, gets you 20% off plus free shipping. Manscaped.com, check them out. So, before we bring in our guest, listen, we got a lot to cover, and I'm glad that he's on because, look, there's certain things that I want to get into, but I don't want to get into it in depth, and he'll know what I'm talking about. And I'm sure, and Vish, you kind of know what I'm talking about too. But to be honest with you, we're all excited, right? We're all excited. We, as excited as we can be. It's a win. In conference win is fine, but we got to see some talented players out there this past weekend. Some young guys come out and show us a little something, and I think that it just excites some of us as fans that have seen the struggle. We've all seen how they struggled this whole entire season. But we've spoken a lot about some of these guys that got out there this weekend and played really well, and some guys that came back and had a bounce back game, right? So we're really, really impressed by that and happy for those kids as well. Look, you'll never hear us say here on this show or on a lot of the shows that we want anybody gone. We think anybody's terrible, but we will criticize when you're having a bad game or what we think, right? That's what we do here as show hosts and as fans as well. So, but before we even get that going, let's bring him on out. There he is.
Do I have to go get my Manscaped downstairs and show it on the show, man?
You got it too, Max?
Of course, I got the men's health edition or whatever the heck it's called.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, baby.
They're the best.
All right, please do not show it to us. No, we'll go. It's okay. Max, what's going on, brother? How you doing, man? Thanks for joining us for a little while here. It's already dark over there finally with this daylight savings time, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm doing extra duty this week. I went on Flow show last night. I have my show tomorrow. I'm on here tonight, so I'm working overtime this week.
You are the man.
You got to come on for these wins, man. They're not as cold as we'd like, so you got to celebrate as much as possible.
I give all credit to the beard. The beard is putting forward the winning spirits to the team.
Are you part of the No Shave November club?
Nah.
No. All right.
No.
Neither am I, man. I can't do that. Anyways, real quick before we get into some other stuff, because Max, you've been hearing from me a lot lately. All right, let's just call it what it is, right?
Just a bit.
Listen, I know some people won't say it's a big win, but for us, it's a big win, man. And I'll tell you why, right? Like for me, it's a big win because I'm going to point out, I'm going to single out Jakari Brown, but I was really excited to see how he played, right? Like everybody's talking about, well, it's against a crappy team. Well, we're a crappy team. So what are we even talking about here, right? Like, it's an opportunity to, first of all, you won against a P5 team. I don't care who it is, with your third string quarterback. Okay. And a lot of missing pieces on this whole entire roster. But you saw some really exciting things from Jakari Brown. Now, and before we even get going on anything else about this game, I'm going to go around the horn on how you felt about the way he performed. Forget about all the other crap that everybody talks about, right? Like how bad Georgia Tech is and yada, yada, yada. Doesn't really matter. For me, it was about how he, actually went out there and commanded this offense. He looked really good doing it. And he brought that element that we don't have with the other quarterbacks, right? Which is the escapability with his legs. And I know some of the other guys can kind of scoot around a little bit, but he's more talented than a lot of guys out there in college football with his legs and being able to break tackles and his speed, versatility, all that stuff. Talk to me a little bit about that, Max, and how you felt about his performance on Saturday against Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I thought he played really well. First career start, first game with a lot of reps. He's been thrown into the mix a little bit, but that was his first game with, he played the whole game. There was no other quarterback that played. I think he's the perfect quarterback for the offensive line that we currently have, because they're not very good. And it's a lot easier for a mobile quarterback to kind of evade pressure. So I thought he did that really well. But I will give the offensive line credit. They played a lot better on Saturday than they have the past couple of weeks. Obviously Jakari wants to get a couple of those deep balls back where he had guys open. But that's just going to come in time. He's got to learn to take a little bit off the ball when he's going deep like that, because he's got a cannon. He can throw like 70 plus yards. He's just got to get a little bit better at adding some touch to it. And then it'll be fine. But I thought it was a big time game for him, playing in his home state, in front of his family, first start on the road, and he got the W, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, that was big. I forgot that. Yeah, he's a Georgia kid, so having a lot of friends and family there, it's kind of nerve-wracking, but I'm sure he was excited about it too. So it's kind of cool. And by the way, he did mention on the interview after the game that flat-footed, he can throw the ball about 69 yards. He said so that he's got a cannon. He's just got to figure some things out. He's got to clean up his accuracy and his touch, and that's fine. That's going to come with more experience and more game time. So I kind of want to piggyback off of that and go to you, Blue, real quick on this. Max mentioned the offensive line play hasn't been great, right, this whole season, and they looked a lot better this past weekend. However, could the fact that Jakari Brown being that dual threat quarterback have anything to do with the success of the running game as well, right? Because we had a pretty good running game, not only from Jakari, but Rooster came back, had a bounce back game. Really happy for the kid, right? Rushed the ball really well. Could that affect how the defense, defends the run when they have to worry about Jakari Brown holding it, pulling it, and running for it as well? Could that have not caused, but right? Could that have affected the efficacy of the running game?
I think it did, obviously, and then certainly when you take a look at Brown, I'll piggyback off what Max said. When you get 2 reps, 3 reps a game, you get no flow. I mean, you really don't. I mean, it's just
no pun intended, by the way. No pun intended.
No pun intended. But you really don't get into the mix of the game, and I think the very fact that he took, where we didn't know, obviously, because they, how they are in keeping secrets. From what I found out, he just took 95% of the snaps with the ones during a week. So he was the guy all the way. And that makes a huge difference. It was his ship. And to answer your question, yeah, I think it did. Obviously the competition was a little bit different than what they're going to face this week. But at the same time, it gave him confidence to at least try things this week against Clemson because of the fact that he had that he had that baptism under fire. He had an opportunity to play college football from the start to the finish in a game. And I think that the kids I think the team rallied around him. I mean, if you look, he's one of those guys. He reminds me of those quarterbacks who are so into the game. If you notice, when Rooster ran the ball or when someone caught it, he ran down there to congratulate him. And there's not a lot of quarterbacks like that. I mean, not anymore. I mean, and it just shows you how much he's into the game, and especially, when he credited the offensive line. He didn't even, when they were trying to credit him, and he goes, no, that offensive line did, he says, I was barely touched sometimes. So, yeah. But it makes a difference, guys, when you have some confidence, and you don't gain confidence going in for a Wildcat and then coming out, and then somebody gets hurt, and then you go in there and you're asked to throw a couple of balls. I mean, you just don't get into the flow. So I think over the next couple of weeks, we're going to see a kid that is going to gain confidence, win, lose, or draw this week. Moving forward, he's the guy. I think he's the guy. And I told you last week, Jazz, when we met here, and everyone was talking about this, I said, they just need to start him the rest of the way. Yeah. I mean, there's just no ifs, ands, and buts, because whether they go to a bowl or not is irrelevant. It really is irrelevant. It's just because you're not building for this year, you're building for the future. And he looks like he is the future.
Yeah, I agree. Vish, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought, echoing what everyone else said, I think the one thing that jumped out to me, I was there, is I don't know if this came across on TV or if they talked about it, but it was really windy. He was so effortless, just tossing the ball all over the place and not being affected by it. And Georgia Tech's quarterbacks, where that interception Tyreek got, that was wide open. The wind just knocked the ball down. And he threw the ball through the wind without issue. His arm talent is ridiculous when you see it in person. Like, he's not even really stepping into these throws, and they're coming out like missiles. And as Max said, he's got to work on some of that accuracy and kind of calibrating it, essentially. But the talent is off the charts in terms of how easy he gets the ball out. And it's quick, too. He doesn't have a big wind-up. All of that came into play here because he's a run-pass threat. So when he makes that decision to get the ball out, it goes. And that's a huge change from our other quarterbacks that are a little bit more deliberate. He's very decisive. I also thought, and I know this might upset people, I thought the game plan was excellent in that we leaned on the running game, we protected him, he threw from positive situations. It's actually what we tried to do at Virginia, and we couldn't hit the throws. But we got into second and medium, second and short, and threw from those positions, and he was excellent. His play fakes were good. The fact that he's such a threat to run just freezes the linebackers automatically on every play, basically, because they got to worry about that. But his decision making was what impressed me the most, actually. The talent's obvious. Like when you see the kid play, he's quick, he's big, he can see over the line. He's got a cannon. But to me, it was the maturity and the decision making. Like he looked completely unfazed by anything that was happening, and that's a great sign. He looked like a natural quarterback.
Yeah,
like he just looked like he fit the pocket presence, the way he maneuvered himself around. Throw on the run, no problems. Like I think he's got a full package there, and it was impressive to see. And I think you could finally see, and again, this is where the opponent really comes into play because Georgia Tech has the worst run defense in the conference, and it showed. But once we got the running game going, all of a sudden everything else worked. And that is the goal of this offense, whether you like the style or not. The goal is to run the ball to set everything else up. And when we're able to run it, and hats off to Jalen Knighton, who was awesome from like the first snap, the whole game, just running through tackles, hitting the hole hard. All the stuff we saw last year that we hadn't seen this year was on full display. And once that stuff happened, whole offense opened up, and he was excellent. I thought they were in a rhythm. I will say, as Gary pointed out in the chat, it was cold. That cold front came through in the middle of the game. And that really affected, I think, both offenses in the middle part of the game because that wind was coming in hard and you couldn't throw the ball. And
well, you saw that, right? You saw it in the third quarter. It was a little different. The game plan kind of went to the ground a lot, right? They ran with Jakari a lot.
Yeah, and I think both teams kind of had to do that because it's hard to articulate. Gary obviously talked about it as well with the wind. Like it was hard to throw in that condition. Just because, like, we're actually sitting there. Like, when the game started, it was like 70 degrees. By the end of it, it was 45. That thing just pushed through, and it was gusting. And finally, Georgia Tech made the big mistake of trying a trick play and threw the interception. But it was a lot of, like, we can't throw in this stuff, which I do think impacted. And Knighton getting hurt, he missed most of the third quarter, I think, is what bogged our offense down. It shows, how important it is to have your running back talent playing at the highest level it can, because he changed the way we run the football when he runs like that. Because it's not just hitting the hole. He can explode. He can go the distance with it. And that changed the whole offense. And he was running with attitude. Yep. He was throwing his shoulder into people who's finishing runs off. And it's a whole different offense when he runs the ball like that. I was so happy to see him play like that after kind of he struggled all year.
DJ, real quick on your look, I think the not only did they have to respect the run now with him, but the fact that he can break tackles, the fact that he was as fast as he was, right? I mean, that was a big issue going into the game. Was he going to be able to, to produce with his legs? And DJ, your thoughts on just the play of Jakari overall?
Well, I think when you look at good programs, they know how to develop players. And, Jakari Brown, he got a little bit of action. I should say a lot of bit of action against Florida State, but he didn't really have the statistics to necessarily show it. He had 36 passing yards. He was thrust into a difficult situation all night. Florida State had Miami's number that game. This game, he looked a lot more comfortable. He was efficient, 14 of 19. And to me, what really stood out was the 0 interceptions. He did a good job of just letting the game come to him and making things happen with his legs. He's really fun to watch, and I think he fits the modern game of college football very well. I'll be interested to see what his, trajectory is for the rest of the season and, how many more starts he gets, because I still don't think we have a definitive answer on Tyler Van Dyke yet either, do we?
No. I don't know, but at the same time, Jesus, why Black, we love you, Black, but we're not going to show that, all right? We're not going to show it on this show.
Go Yankees.
The what's up, fellas part we will, but not the go Yankees part. All right. Let's love
I feel like there's some host bias coming into play here.
Damn right there is.
Absolutely no Yankees on this show whatsoever.
Yeah, you see, we got two Red Sox on this show.
Now you goaded me into it because now it's going up.
You got two Red Sox on this show, so to what you're a Padres fan, Max. Stop it.
I'm a Yankee. What are you talking about? I'm a Yankees fan. Don't make me send a link to Black. We'll have 2-on-2.
Everybody's a Yankees fan because it's easy to be a Yankees fan.
I don't even care either way, but you protested so much, Jazz. I had to show it.
Of course, shocker there. Anyways, getting back to the topic at hand, we'll kind of move forward with this real quick. There was something that someone mentioned earlier I think it was yesterday or right after the game, and the whole misconception that they think that this type of play calling that Josh Gaddis has, the type of game that he has to call with Jakari Brown, is going to hinder the development and of the wide receivers, the tight ends, the running backs, as far as them, kind of developing into this, these big time receivers, these big time tight ends, because he's not just slinging the ball around everywhere. Now we've got everybody chiming in on the
I'm an equal opportunity,
the AL East here.
not really caring. So
Is this an AL East show? What's going on here? The hell's going on here? So do you think that that's accurate? Because I don't think so, right? I think that, look, this was the first game that they had him as a starting quarterback. Now this offense is going to open up a little bit more. They see that he's able to command this offense. They see what he's able to do with his legs, throwing the ball a little bit, right? Yeah, he does have to work on some things. But do you think that this is going to hinder the development, the productivity of those wide receivers and tight ends and the skill positions, Max?
Not at all, because most of the successful teams in college football run a very similar type of offense. I mean, it hasn't hindered any receivers at Georgia. It hasn't hindered any receivers at Alabama. It hasn't hindered any receivers at Michigan. I mean, Gaddis sent multiple Michigan guys to the league, and guess what? There was just an article that came out that Ronnie Bell is going to probably be leaving. He's already accepted a Senior Bowl invite, and he's going to be gone, and they're still running Gaddis's offense at Michigan. The guy that took over was one of Gaddis's proteges that was learning the offense under him. So, I don't think it hinders it at all. In fact, I think it almost benefits, because you have guys like Brevin Jordan who came out last week and said Lashley's offense prepared him for nothing in the NFL, because nobody in the NFL runs a air raid.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
There's one coach that does, and he's about to get fired probably, Cliff Kingsbury. It took the NFL one season to figure out how to stop him.
And we've all noticed that, right? We've all noticed it. Look at what and it's not to take away from Tennessee, because they're having a great season, but when a top defense like UGA gets a hold of them, you saw what they did to them a couple weeks ago. So
but
it's
there's also the reason that Max has hit the nail on the head. The top teams do run, whether or not you like the style we're running. That is what teams win championships with.
Absolutely.
And there's a reason for that too. It's not just that, Jess, to your point, that when you get one-dimensional, good defenses can take one thing away. It's also that when you play like that, even when it's going well, you're hanging your defense out to dry. Like, even when your tempo is working, if you score every 2 minutes, that's better than what we've been doing, which is 3 games with no touchdowns, right? Obviously, that's not what I'm saying, but it does put your defense in the position of having to play a lot. And even when Max mentioned there, right, even at the height of Mike Leach's best teams, the defense would always be a problem. And not because they weren't necessarily even good at defense, just you can't be on the field 40 minutes. Yeah. Right. And it's just, and that's what that offense does. So I understand what they're trying to do here. And in terms of developing the receivers and all, they'll get that development anyway. This is what, as Max said, this is what they run in the pros too.
Yep.
And I think that the big thing is, if you're running the ball like this, you think Bama is running for 8-9 yards of carry, and is well, we got to get the receivers some work. No, they're going to keep running it down everyone's throat. Ideally, we don't have to air it out, right? You don't want to get into 3rd and long and all this. We're having to wing it all over the place. And we did a good job of avoiding that because we were running it well. Had they shut the run game down, we had to chase the game, we absolutely would have thrown more. We didn't need to.
Let me ask you this question, Blue, kind of flipping the script a little bit here, and going from offense to defense, right? Defense. Look, at the end of the day, a lot of people are like, "Well, it's a not so great Georgia Tech team. They're playing their 2nd and 3rd string quarterbacks as well. They're not very good. Yada yada yada." But we've all seen that if your offense is not clicking, if you're not scoring points, if you're not holding the ball and driving the ball down and clock management and winning that game, doesn't matter, right? If your defense is out there for long periods at a time, they're bound to give up some plays. They're bound to give up some scores. You didn't see that this week, right? You obviously saw time of possession was was a big thing for Miami. They drove the ball down. I think the first touchdown was 6 minutes long. The second touchdown was over 7 minutes long. The drives. So you saw them hold on to the ball, give the defense the opportunity to pin their ears back and kind of and kind of go after Georgia Tech a little bit. Talk to me about how you saw the play of the defense. Are you happy with the way that they played? Are you taking it with a grain of salt because it was Georgia Tech? Did you like what you saw, excuse me? And were there any players that kind of stood out to you as well, Blue?
Well, you're not going to change things in a week. I mean, he got crushed last week. I mean, humiliated against FSU. Prior games, they've gotten the same. And this week, it's going to happen again to them. I mean, it's just the level of competition. But the very fact that they performed extremely well, I don't care who it was, but at least it gives everybody confidence, shows the coaching staff that, excuse me, with some work and with some additions, we're going to be pretty good. I mean, you can't expect this thing to turn around in a week. I mean, it's just not. I mean, I'm a guy that'll, give the Hurricanes every freaking break in the world, and we all know what's going to happen this week. I mean, you're playing a nationally rated team who's better than anybody you've played so far. So the very fact is that you look at last week and you're happy for what happened because you know that a lot of these guys, and we said this early on, and I took so much heat in the class when I said that Cam Kinchens was better than James Williams as a safety. And, you don't know what you're saying. But he's a better football player. James has all the tools. He's just not as good a football player as Cam. But you're going to have guys like that. You're going to have guys like that coming back. And hopefully, you gear up for the future. And that's why I said these last 3 games weren't important to me from the standpoint of wins and losses. It's all about development. But it feels good to win. And it's going to feel good to develop. And like I said, I can't wait to see what the spring brings. You're going to get some new faces in there. You're going to lose a lot of the guys that you have because they're just not Miami. That's not what Miami has in the future. But to answer your question, I was happy to see some development. And you got to develop where, you open up against a Bethune-Cookman of Southern Mississippi and you see, what could be, but then reality kind of starts sinking in. But to be honest with you, I liked what I saw. But I'm not going to hold this as, we're going to crush Clemson and Pittsburgh.
What?
I'm just kidding. You get these fans that are out there right now, Clemson better watch out. You know what? The reality of it is this. To answer your question, and I will answer it, I thought that they did a tremendous job. They did everything that they could. Their front 7, Wesley Bassane, who's your future, played well. Your secondary played well. You stopped the run when you had to do it. But I think that the future, with the additions of this next class and then the next class after that, and with some transfer portal kids, we're going to be looking because that the coaching's there. And I have an argument with people all the time. This coaching staff is what? Give them something to work with, and you'll see how good they are. And I think they're extremely good. If a guy runs a 5 flat and a guy runs a 4.27, who's going to win all the time? It's just Miami's got a lot of those 5 flat guys when they play really, really good teams, but it's going to all even out. And like when somebody asked Mario the question last week, were you upset with Florida State throwing, up 37 or whatever they were? And he goes, no, the shoe's going to be on the other foot someday. And that's the way I believe it.
Yeah, I hear you on that. By the way, shout out to Cam Kitchens, right? He's the best player.
I cannot believe it took us half an hour to mention his name. What are we doing? What is life?
Yeah, well, we got to, everybody wants to talk about offense, right? So we're talking about the offense first, man.
Dude,
shout out to Cam.
3 interceptions of 6. He was all
I was honestly thinking the same thing, Vish.
He made like a bazillion tackles. He was flying around everywhere.
He got enough publicity. He came off Flo's show last night. He got enough publicity.
That's a problem. You guys don't know these things. You guys don't know these things, all right? I was there. I saw him on the show. No, but
all I'm saying is half an hour in before we mentioned.
Shout out to Cam Kitchens, man. Best safety in the country. Let's go, baby. Let's go. By the way, not only is he, I honestly think he's one of the top safeties in the country for sure.
Oh yeah,
I think he's up there. He leads the country in interceptions right now. So that's freaking huge. But also, you mentioned the blue Wesley Basaint. I mean, I saw a I don't know who posted it, Max. Maybe you saw it, or maybe one of you guys saw it. But that he is the second highest ranked, I think, freshman linebacker in the country right now,
nice.
behind an absolute.
Harold Perkins.
Harold Perkins.
Yeah.
Harold Perkins might be the best player in college football on defense right now. So, yeah, I mean, ranked the second highest, freshman linebacker in the country right now. He's barely. Let's put it this way: he's barely played. Harold Perkins has started the whole entire season,
Right.
right? So you're talking about another kid that is just going to be absolute. And you mentioned it, Blue. Like give Charlie Strong, give Coach Steele, give these guys the players to play with, and they're going to
Right.
show you what they can do with them, right? And regardless of whether it was Georgia Tech, because he's played like that against FSU, he played like that against other teams, right? Wesley Basaint, Cam Kitchens, those guys are the real deal, no matter who
No
they
doubt.
play. So, really excited to see that.
And I was going to say is Mario paid him the most highest compliment you could pay, especially coming from Mario, when he said, there's days that I'm in this building by myself, or I think I'm by myself, and then I hear film running, this and that. And he looks at his Cam Kitchens. He says, "How dare somebody be here more than I am?" And and I'll tell you that I think that tells a lot, right there. That here's your head coach singling out a guy for putting in more work than anybody, and you just don't become good. You have to work at it hard, and no doubt that. And I agree with you, Jazz, that by the time 2 years rolls around, his name's going to be called pretty early in that NFL draft.
Oh yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that, Blue. We'll kind of move on after this, but he was on Flo's show yesterday too, and this is exactly what they were talking about, because they interrupted he was actually playing video games, right? It's like, shocker that there's a 20-year-old kid, a 19-year-old kid playing video games at night, as opposed to doing what a 40-year-old. But no, these guys are kids. They're kids. They're 19, 20 years
Well,
old.
it's better than him being out at the club.
100%. But then it's also exciting to hear that it actually is surprising, because he's always in the film room. He's always studying. You just mentioned it, Blue, and Flo, and you guys mentioned it yesterday as well. He's a film junkie, right? That's what and that's why he is playing the way he's playing. And eventually, other players will start to follow suit, because a guy like Cam is going to be able to come in and get in people's ears and get in people's faces. I'm sure he's already doing it, but you're gonna learn today, and Cam's the one that's gonna be able to kind of lead that defense as well. So really excited about those two, about him and West and some of the other guys there. Kind of moving forward, you mentioned something, Blue, and I kind of wanted to talk about this. Max and DJ and Vish. I mean, Max and DJ probably know a little bit about this also, but there's going to be a lot of movement in the offseason on this team. Okay. There's going to be a lot of changes. And it's interesting to see what Miami is doing. Look, it's no secret, so I'm going to put it out there. Seven McGee was on campus today, right? That's not a secret. So that's something I'm going to put out there. And you guys mentioned that, Max, and it's funny because I wanted to talk about this on the show today, but the fact that some of the players that are on the team now, some of the guys that are bought in, are actively recruiting some other people, right, that are potentially going to go into the portal, are in the portal now, like Seven McGee. How big is it? And I'll start with you, Max. I'll go to DJ, and then we'll go around with Vish and Blue also. But how big is it of a piece of the recruiting puzzle, right? That some of these players that are on the team now are actively recruiting other players and potentially, looking at some of the guys that are because obviously they're boys. People chat, right? They talk to each other, whether they're on the same team or not. Somebody could be in another team, and they're going to chat. They're going to be like, yo, I got to get out of here. Or, yo, I'm down. What's the deal? How big a part of recruiting is that for next year coming down the road, whether it's high school or transfer portal kids?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's massive. You look at all pro sports; they're doing it. They're having conversations in the middle of games, like, "Hey, let's team up," all that kind of stuff. So I think it is huge. And just to talk a little bit about like this overhaul that Larry was kind of talking about, I think we're going to have at least 40 new faces on the team next year. I mean, I'm talking around 30 guys in the high school ranks and 10 plus, maybe even 15 transfers. I mean, I think Mario is going to try and flip this roster as fast as we can because unfortunately the talent, not necessarily the talent isn't there, but the right people aren't on the team. And I actually wanted to ask you a question, Blue, because this was sent to me and I want to know your opinion on it. How many guys on our current team right now do you think could have started at Oregon last year?
Oh, on the current team now?
Yeah.
Not a whole lot. Geez. Maybe the kicker. The punter.
Excluding special teams.
Well, nobody on offensive line. Maybe Messidor or one of those guys.
What about Cam?
I will say, if you're talking about
Cam.
if you're talking about last year's team, probably our quarterbacks. They were.
You're talking about last year's or the kids that we have now in play?
So our current team on Oregon's last year's team.
Oh, okay.
I think our Tyler Van Dyke, if you assuming he's healthy, but even you would have taken Jakari Brown over.
Yeah, well, Tyler
Anthony
definitely.
Brown, or the Brown they had last year, he was terrible.
None of the receivers, although Caleb, but he hasn't really, proven. No, I don't think many. Why are you asking that question?
Well, just because it speaks to the volume of how big of a rebuild it is. You have our fan base saying, "Oh, this shouldn't have been a rebuild. We shouldn't have been blah 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 blah."
What?
And then you look at how many players would have started at Oregon last year, and I think I can name 4, and that's it. I mean, you got Tyler Van Dyke.
Yeah.
You've got Daryl Jackson at defensive tackle. You got Akeem Messidor and Cam Kitchens. That's it.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd say is
maybe Tyreek Stevenson.
Fair.
Maybe
that's fair.
Stevenson.
Their corners got drafted.
Yeah, their corners were pretty good. You're right.
But I think the other thing is, look, we fired the coach, obviously, which should tell you straight away there's a problem, right? But think about how deep the rot is when we fired the athletic director too.
No, yeah, and it was.
This is not like a trivial
thing. Even more than that, right? It was everybody in that administration.
Yeah, this was not like a trivial, borderline quick rebuild situation. When you start firing the athletic director, stuff is really bad.
Yeah, it's a full overhaul.
Yeah, so I
that
understand.
plays into how the team performs. Believe it or not, that plays into everything.
Well, it's your culture of your entire athletic department when you fire the athletic director that you think is broken.
Right.
So it's not just on the football side. It'll permeate the football as well. And I understand the frustration from the fans because it's been 20 years since we've been good. But they pulled the plug. Like they're literally like, we got to reset. Resets are painful. Yeah, it was necessary though because of where we were and what we were doing. But this is the painful part. But yeah, we're not. If you thought it was just going to be snap your fingers, we're gonna. It's just not there. You don't fire the athletic director. Like I can't tell you how big of a deal that is. Like that just does not happen unless it's really bad.
So let's ask this question because Max asked that question, right? DJ, how many players do you think? I won't get into the whole entire thing, but how many players do you think will leave this program? If you had to guess, how many players do you think are gone? Transfer portal wise altogether, give me a number.
That's a tough one because I feel like would 15 be too low?
That's a number I was thinking.
Pick a number and probably add 10 to it.
Damn.
I would say 15.
Yeah, I was thinking 15 to 17 guys. So
you guys are shooting short, man.
Yes. Well, I mean, listen, I wouldn't be surprised. It wouldn't surprise me if it's more, for sure. And you know what I think is the biggest thing that a lot of people don't realize? A lot of people are going to get pissed off, right? The typical, Miami Hurricane fan are going to get pissed off at. They're going to see some of their boys that they love on this team that are not going to be there anymore. They're going to go. They're gone. And it might hurt initially. You're going to be like, how the hell is this kid transferring? Why? Oh, no, we're going to be terrible. Hey, you don't know. You don't know what Mario is doing. Okay, you guys don't understand what he's doing. Larry, you understand. Blue, you know what's going on, right? You talk to him, and you're probably going to talk to him soon again. And of course, there's already players that the writing is on the wall for them on this program now that are going to leave, right? We already know who they are. We don't even have to mention them, and we know who they are. But then there's guys like I keep saying Seven McGee because look, he's obviously an Oregon kid. He's exciting. He's electric. He kind of reminds you of that guy that Swiss Army knife that can kind of do it all, DeAnthony Thomas type of guy that played at Oregon a few years back, but he obviously entered the transfer portal. Then yesterday it was reported that he was down here, but it had nothing to do with Miami. He was just down here working out. Okay, it had nothing to do with Miami. But then today he posts a picture. He's on campus.
No, there was another reason that he was here.
Yeah, that wasn't Miami related.
Yes.
Okay.
He came to see the Cavender twins.
Probably, but that's when do they have a game? They got a game tonight or what?
Oh man, I don't know. Can we talk about why else or not? Really?
No.
Maybe. No. Okay.
It's not University of Miami related whatsoever though.
Gotcha. But anyways, he's here, right? He was on campus today.
Correct.
What does that tell you, Max? What does that tell you? I mean,
that he wanted to check the campus out. I mean, he's never been to campus. He said it himself. Obviously, I don't believe that our staff could have any sort of contact with him because the portal's not open. So I doubt Mario even got to see him at all. He probably just went on a self-guided tour. And, to me, you just stack talent. I mean, he's a kid.
Can players announce though that they're transferring to another program?
Yeah, you can't. None of that can happen right now. So,
Gotcha.
He's in the portal, but he's not really in the portal because you can't be in the portal technically.
Right.
There's like this highlight video of him on YouTube, and the first like minute and a half is him giving like a pregame pump up speech to his team, and I'm like, those are the type of guys that Mario wants, and it makes sense as to why Mario wanted him. Just hearing him talk like that. But yeah, I mean, DeAnthony Thomas makes a lot of sense. He's elite out of the backfield as a pass catcher, so elite that he was literally playing receiver for Oregon this year. So that would add a huge element to the running game, to the passing game from a running back perspective. But anytime you can stack talent on the roster, you never know who's going to get hurt. You never know who's going to develop. You have two guys similar to that are coming in, and Ray, and Robbie, and then obviously you have a guy like Brashard Smith who fills a similar role, but he's more of a running back first.
Right.
But you just don't know how they're going to develop and who's going to get hurt. So I'm all aboard. If he did want to come to Miami and our coaching staff wanted him, it would make a lot of sense. Just because you always want to stack talent.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just don't let him near the equipment room because all you got is 5 sets of uniforms. Jesus.
Yeah, Mario doesn't care about that stuff, right? That's like the least of his worries. Like we all thought we were going to be in the blackout uniforms against FSU. He's like, nah, we're wearing traditional colors, right?
Well, we got the
pick game. Yeah, we got
it's got to be right. They got to wear at least once.
Like we've got to wear the black uniforms there. So, listen. Gotcha.
Real quick subject change. We got to make fun of Florida's basketball team real quick because they lost to FAU for the first time in school history. So we gotta have fun with that.
Well, of course, and didn't FSU lose last week as well?
FSU also, I forget who they lost to. They took a bad
loss
lost
to Stetson Cologne.
That's right.
Yeah, there it is.
And also UCF.
They did
back to back
UCF as well.
Yeah.
You're right.
So
apparently UCF is pretty good. They got that guy from Duke over there, one of their assistant coaches.
Don't make excuses for FSU.
But anyways, no. I'm
anyway,
not
that was it. I just interrupted the show for important announcement. Yeah.
That's all right. DJ Blue, Max, I want to get your thoughts. Vish doesn't really care for this, but it's okay. Daniel Harris, decommitment, 5-star cornerback from Georgia, just decommitted today. Is he a guy that should be on the radar for Miami? I know I say should. And it's like, hello, he's a 5-star cornerback. Is he a guy that opened up his decommitment for a specific reason? Is he going somewhere else, or is he just opening it up to kind of get recruited again by other teams? Do you guys have any ideas, or how, or do you guys like Daniel Harris as a player? Let's just put it that way. Any of you can kind of chime in first on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's a 5-star. He might be a high 4-star, but you know, I think we have other options that I would prefer over him. He's a really talented player, but there's some guys that I personally have higher on the board. I know he's talking to Penn State. He's talking to maybe Ohio State and one other school a lot. But I mean, it could be something to monitor. If it is, it's something that the staff is doing behind the scenes.
Right.
But yeah, it says Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State are the ones that are, heavily pursuing him right now. But
big names.
he's a local kid. There was some rumors about his brother maybe transferring back home this offseason. Obviously, that didn't happen. So I don't know. But I'm not going to say it's not a possibility.
Yeah, I watched him the other night, and he got eaten up pretty good. So he's nowhere near a 4 or 5 star. He's okay. He's just long and tall, and
maybe that's why he decommitted from Georgia, because they saw him play last week.
Yeah, Andy Jean was eating him up the other night. So that and the freshman that Northwestern has, who's going to probably be better than all of them, they all ate him up, and then he got in a fight, and he temperament-wise is not what these schools looking for, and you're probably a billion times right, because someone must have showed him the film of the game, and he's good-looking kid, no doubt. Passes the eye test.
He's a big kid. He's like 6'3", 190.
Oh yeah. You really talk. Yeah,
looks like DJ Ivy. Looks like DJ Ivy like that.
He's a little bit, he's thinnish, but he's gonna definitely get bigger. He just has to keep his head about himself. And Andy Jean is an elite kid. I watched him the other night. He's healthy now. Florida got a kid that could be really, really good. I wish Miami would have pursued it a little bit harder, because I think that he was talked down because he was hurt. But I watched him the other night, and he's the deal.
Max, we'll finish with this one. We'll get you out of here, man. And we do appreciate you coming on. You stayed longer than I'm sure that you wanted to. So I appreciate it.
I'm chilling,
man. But the last guy I kind of want to talk about really quick is, Malik Bryant. I think people need to understand. People need to read before they react, because obviously, good friend of the program, Gabby Arrudia posted a write-up he did on Malik. Why are you guys laughing over there, huh? Why are you guys laughing up there? About Malik, what he knows about the situation with Malik Bryant, and everybody started freaking out right off the bat. Oh, he's flirting with UF, and oh, he's doing this, and oh, he's doing that. But when in reality, I think that it was just him saying that he's pretty locked into Miami, right? I mean, I didn't read the article, so I'm not going to speculate on one way or the other. I don't know, DJ, were you able to read anything up on Malik Bryant?
I wasn't, just because I was on the VIP article, so.
Oh,
I unfortunately don't have.
Do we have anything to worry about, Max, with Malik Bryant?
Listen, in this day and age,
you never know.
In this day and age, nobody's locked in. Unfortunately, I think there needs to be some changes into how the recruiting world works in college football. I think it's pretty bad right now, because a commitment doesn't mean anything at this point. But I would say I feel very confident that he remains a Cane, just knowing who his mentor is, who he's close with, and what's been his favorite team growing up, and the relationship he's built with the staff. So I wouldn't be shocked if he decommitted, but I don't see it happening right now.
Some other big names that are out there that I know Samuel Mpemba just released his top 4. I know Miami's in it, Georgia as well. I think Florida, and I can't remember who else. I think it was maybe Bama or Ohio State or something like that, right? That's a kid to watch for, although I don't think he's coming to Miami. I think he's pretty much locked in with some of those SEC schools, but you never know. It could happen. It's still a possibility because he does like Miami a little bit. And then Samson Okunlola, who did he finally release his top 5 or whatever the hell he was going to do with Hayes? No, right? He
No,
didn't.
so that was so Hayes hinted that a 5-star was going to make an announcement today, but the 5-star that made the announcement was Mpemba. So
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Samson just said he has something soon, which he said like 4 times at this point. So I don't know if it's going to be a top 97, if it's going to be a top 3 or a
Top
commitment.
97.
But he's a good businessman.
Yeah,
he's
he is.
doing a lot to build his brand right now. So I'm not sure when and what he's planning, but I would definitely keep an eye out on that.
Max, before we let you go, any any chance we have against Clemson?
Well, I said on the show last night, I say maybe a 20% chance, just because I know they have more talent than us, and I just think their offense doesn't scare me. I think if we keep it a low scoring game, we have an opportunity. It's going to be probably a little bit challenging for them to stop Jakari, and they're not very good on offense. So it's not a high percentage chance, but Jakari's just a gamer, man. I mean, you watch him in high school, he shows up at games, and what are they going to do? Are they going to try and blitz him? And if so, I think that's a mistake. He's just going to run all over them. Are they going to drop 8 in coverage and force him to throw? What are they going to do? But not a high chance, but it's possible. I mean, it's college football. We've seen way crazier upsets. So.
Yep, ain't that the truth?
Did you hear him the other night talking about Cam Kitchens? He said Cam even intercepted me in high school. He said,
Yeah,
when they played Northwestern.
He intercepted a lot of people in high school.
Yeah,
he did. Max, we wish you were down here, man, so you can come to our watch party. We're going to do a little watch party this weekend after the Alzheimer's walk. We're doing the Alzheimer's walk in the morning, and then we're doing a little watch party over at the Ale House down here. So wish you were down here, bro. Come hang out with us.
I think we're doing a watch party up in Orlando area, actually.
Yeah, I think it's Lex's birthday coming up soon or something,
birthday,
right?
Yeah. So
he was on the show a little earlier, so shout out to Lex too. But yeah, man. Anyways, we appreciate you coming on, my brother, and always welcome, of course. But anytime we win, I might text you. That's all right. So you might
Sounds
be on next week. Who knows?
20% chance I'll be here.
20% chance.
There you go.
Tuesday nights, the Miami maxed out show on Tuesday. I was gonna say Miami Flow Max.
Why don't you just let him plug it?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, what the hell?
Hey,
What's your third call again, man?
Yeah, it's the Maxed Out A Black show. I don't know if any of you guys have any plugs to Martinelli's, but A Black and I are trying to get the show sponsored by Martinelli's. I keep that bottle next to me so we can plug it, even though we don't get paid to do it, because we need that sponsorship. But yeah, we go live Tuesdays at 9:30. We've got shows like pretty much every day of the week with the Flow Squad. So check out the website, MiamiFlowMedia.com. All of the show schedules are on there. So yeah, it's a good time.
You heard it here first, everybody. Max says Miami's going to beat Clemson. Anyways,
sure.
Thanks for coming on the show, brother. We love you, man. We'll see you later.
Of course. Take care. Take it easy, guys.
All right,
see you later, Max.
Before we get into Clemson, I kind of wanted to yeah. All right, Gary.
You want to do some prize picks?
In a second. I wanted to talk about something because I think this is important. I think this is really important. Blue, look. I say Blue because he is around these people more than all of us combined. So it's hard for me to understand. And I know everybody's been seeing it on Twitter also, is the reactions and the posts and the comments from, players and parents and so on and so forth. To me, I think it's wrong, right? Number one, it's wrong. Number two, I don't want to say I empathize with them, but I understand heat of the moment emotions, and you start saying stuff. that maybe you want to take back later on that don't make sense or whatever the case is. But my thing is, does this tell you how screwed up the culture is of this program right now, Blue? Or is it a mix of both, right? Is it a mix of, well, how, certain parents calling out coaches on Twitter and, kind of telling them, throwing shade their way and stuff like that. And we don't have to mention names, but is it a problem? Is it a culture thing for this program or for any program that does that, period? Is it a culture thing for them? Is it uncalled for? Is it something where if you had a child that was playing a sport, a high school sport or a college sport, I mean, I'm thinking, again, I'm not there, I don't have children, but I'm thinking, if my child, don't come talking to me. If you're not working hard, you're not doing something right, or whatever the case is, you better go talk to them. I'm not your coach.
Right.
I'm here to support you, whether you do good or you do bad. But I'm not going to go out there and I'm going to, because first of all, it's embarrassing for the players. Okay. You embarrass yourself. Okay. And at the same time, it's not a good look for the culture of the team as a whole. How do you feel about that whole thing? Because you're around high school sports a lot, right? You've seen it all. How do you feel about this whole thing? And we obviously tread lightly. We're not necessarily, going to throw shade at people, but it has to be spoken about because I think that they don't understand the damage they do sometimes. And I want to kind of get your take on that.
Well, for that very reason that you bring up, and I'll be honest with you, being around all those guys, they start that stuff as far back as youth league.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're pointing fingers. You should see some of the posts. If you want to see some really good posts, go to the AYFL or the Pop Warners, and you could see that, this coach, he ain't doing this, and they're taking it out. So by the time they get to high school, it's norm. And then when they get to college, it's just something that they continue to do. And whether it's right or wrong, it's a culture, and you're not going to change it. You could say all you want, Mario or the coaching staff or, some of the people within any high or college team could say, hey, listen, tell your uncle or your mom to kind of ease off the gas a little bit. Yeah. They won't, because it's part of the culture, and they feel like they have the right to say this stuff. So you just got to take it.
And that's why half of those people are going to be gone. That's bottom line, right?
That's probably 1,000,000,000% right. And the way I look at it is you got to take and you got to say, listen, you know what? Like you just said, let's take this stuff with a grain of salt, because I mean, if you don't, then it's just, and there's no way you're going to stop it. It's like my buddy says, it's like being at a concert and the cops trying to stop 50 people from smoking pot. What? How are you going to do that? It's just going to be, it's just the culture. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And just got to roll with the punches, because it's never going to change. And and that's the way I look at it. So and like you said, they're probably not, a lot of those kids aren't going to be back. And if they do come back, individually, on an individual basis, I would say, hey, listen, not good look for you, not good look for us. But it's being done everywhere, Jazz. I mean, it's not just here. I hear it at almost every school. I heard, you heard it at Florida at the beginning of the year when they had this couple of kids running the ball, and they go, what the hell is he doing in there? That kid's bad. And and that's a mother saying that about somebody else. So now you just got to let it roll. Everything will work itself out, because I can guarantee at Alabama and Ohio State, and they're not doing it because they're winning. Winning cures it all. And once Miami starts winning, there's not anything that people complain about. They'll find something.
Well, this was after a win. This was
I know, but I'm talking about on a consistent basis.
Right. I know what you mean.
What I mean? And I was being nice. I try to be, I try to be fair. I mean, I could come off as the biggest homer in the world and look for every silver lining, but coming out of the Florida State game, you had some ifs and ands against Georgia Tech, who beat Duke, who beat you pretty well. But going into the Clemson game, your expectations can't be that high. I mean, because it's just going to revert back to what you did against. You're going to have better athletes on the other side of the ball who are going to force you into doing little different things. But we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But I didn't want to, I'm of the belief that you got to roll with the punches and let it go. Let it go.
DJ, you're actually, you've been a part of a football program as well, and you've been around a lot of this as well. How do you feel? Does it affect the players? Does it affect the culture, the locker room? Does it affect anything outside of football, period? It could be player to player, coach to coach, parent to parent, and so on and so forth. Because, at some point, you could be talking about it and offending another player and another parent, right? So how do you think that dynamic works?
Well, I think players and coaches definitely hear it as much as they say they don't. They definitely hear it. I think it's something that you try to gloss over as a program, whether it be a coach or a player. I know that, sometimes, parents try to live their own athletic careers vicariously through their son or daughter. I've seen that a lot where parents think, I don't know, their sweet basketball player is going to be the next LeBron James, and they try to, get him to start or, yell at the coach or write a nasty email or things like that. So there's definitely areas where coaches and players hear that stuff. I've never been in a situation where I've seen any personal attacks spill over to other players, but it's definitely heard and it's definitely noticed. No matter how much they try to, keep it under wraps or say they don't hear it, they definitely hear it, and it does make things a little bit awkward sometimes. But as a coach, all the coaches I've been with, they just try to move forward and focus on the game at hand, and it's. And sometimes very hard depending on how vocal a certain group or a certain parent is, but that's just part of the game, and you really have to have thick skin, especially if you're a coach.
Vish, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a people management issue, right? And so these are they just out of high school. A lot of these, I don't call them kids; they're adults, but barely, right? And what would have in the past been handled, parents have been getting upset for 100 years, so it's not like this is new to that, just that it's all public now because they can, without thinking, fire something off in 10 seconds that make an appointment with the coach, try to talk to him on Monday. By then you probably cooled off, you don't do something stupid like that, right? So it's the world we're living in. So from a coach's standpoint, you look at the kid, you look at where he's at, and you decide, like, what is this worth rehabilitating or not, right? And Mario will make that call. Like you said, some of these ones are going to be gone. Some of them probably won't. We didn't bring these kids in, especially like some of the ones that he recruited, to not play, right? So there was a plan in place. At one point, they liked him. They liked these players, right? So now sometimes it's just a bad fit. They got to move on, but I think it's very easy to knee-jerk and say, oh, this is garbage, throw them all out. But as a coach, you do have to manage the individual. Every person is different. It's not a one-size-fits-all. So you got to figure out what works. It's no different than when you're trying to scheme up and they have different talents. Right. You don't run the same thing with different talented, like players with different skills. That's the same thing here. So hopefully he knows the players well and knows this one's gone. Like there's no way we can rehabilitate him. And then maybe another one, you're like, look, you might have done the exact same thing, but I know that if I talk to that kid, he'll get it. The light bulb will go on.
Right.
And so it's not going to be a one size fits all thing. And management is difficult because people are complicated.
Yeah.
and we always want to make it black and white, but it's never about that. And there's a number of kids that, here's a great example. One of our best players ever, right? DJ Williams. We got him, 5-star, got him from California. We knew he was a linebacker. He knew he was a linebacker. He wanted to be on the field. So we put him at fullback for a year, even though there was no way that was like a career choice for him. But it was
he actually did really good.
He played fine there, but give me a break. That guy was always going to be like a stud linebacker. He was a first-round pick and Pro Bowler in the NFL as a linebacker. But, that was what he needed to be successful here. Now, if someone else made that, like, I got to get on the field, we would have probably said, no, go go practice. Maybe next year, like with the depth chart, you'll move. So I think Jimmy Johnson was like the king of this. He's like, no, we don't have, one rule for everyone.
Right. It's true.
Certain players have different rules than other players. Like he cut the backup running back for fumbling. If Emmett Smith fumbled, he wasn't getting cut.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's the reality, and that's how. But yeah, that's how to handle it. It's not everyone's equal. That's just the reality of it.
I will say this, and I'll finish off here, and we'll get into Clemson for a few minutes. I mean, we know what's up there, but I will say this. I want to finish off with this, and I don't. Nothing else needs to be said about this. But if you are a grown ass man, okay, and you are on social media saying derogatory comments to high school kids and college kids and making fun of them, talking bad about them, and throwing shade their way and saying nasty things to them on social media, you are a loser. And I just wanted to say that. Don't be a loser. Be a good human being and go get a life and do something else, because social media is not for you. And there's no argument in that. If you are doing that to kids and you are a grown-ass man, you are a loser. With that being said, let's talk about one of our sponsors, prizepicks.com. What do you think, Vish? Shall we? Prizepicks.com.
You can always win on prizepicks.com. You're
always a winner on prizepicks.com. I like that, DJ. I like that.
I will say, I don't think you should necessarily put Juan Soto in your lineup right now.
No.
So they might want to update some of their screenshots.
Please don't do that unless you don't want to be a winner. But even if you do put them in your lineup, you still have chances of you'll still be a winner with somebody else. So that's good. Which means that you can mix and match players from different leagues, different sports, and here's the good thing, right? Like, what you pick between 2 and 5 players, choose the over/under on their individual stats, no matter the sport, no matter the league, okay? And then just watch your team win. Make sure you go to PrizePicks.com when you log in, when you sign up. Put in the code 5 FIVE. The code 5 FIVE, and they will match your deposit, your first deposit, up to $100. That's prizepicks.com. Check them out. Log in, put in the code 5 FIVE, and they will match your initial deposit up to $100. Check them out. It's real simple, and everybody wins, and you're all winners. No losers there on prizepicks.com, baby. Before we get going, yeah, so it's a 3:30 p.m. start against Clemson away, another road game. But listen, the Miami Hurricanes are road warriors, baby. They're 3-1 on the road. Okay, so with that being said, I think they might be 3-2, but you never know. Okay, you never know. This is going to be a tough one for Miami. Okay, if they didn't get up against their rivals, who are obviously a talented team, right? They're pretty good. They're all right. Now you got to go on the road against top 10 program in Clemson. They are reeling a little bit on offense. They're not a great offensive team. Their defense is pretty stout. So it's going to be a battle. It's going to be tough for them to come out of Clemson, South Carolina with a W. The thing that I like is the fact that, look, and we'll kind of go around the horn on your takes and keys to the game and whatnot, but honestly speaking, right now they've got a quarterback issue. Okay, if it's DJ Uiagalelei or if it's Cade Klubnik, we see that if you put enough pressure on both of them, they're going to make mistakes. And I know Cade Klubnik is a freshman, but we're talking about a team that is struggling to score some points, not giving the ball enough to a guy like Will Shipley. I'm not even sure who their wide receivers are right now. I know Zingata and some other really good wide receivers. However, they are having some issues on offense. Blue, what is your take on this game? Some keys to the game. If Miami ever had a shot to win, how could they come out and get the upset here against Clemson?
Well, we're gonna speak on the same thing that I think that Vish and I said going into the Florida State game, and you can't turn the ball over. No. You turn the ball over and give them and make mistakes, they're gonna bury you. I mean, they will. I mean, they just got a better Personnel-wise, they're just a better football team. 2 years from now, I could be saying that the opposite way, but right now they're a better football team. So don't give them the advantage. Don't give them – they don't need your help, okay? They don't need your help. That's the key. If Miami just plays their game, I don't know if they're going to be able to run, although Florida State ran for 323 yards on them. I don't know, but I think Florida State's offensive line is a little bit more experienced than Miami. Miami just has to – I think
Speaking of that,
Jakari-
though, Blue, are you impressed by the play of Inez Cooper? Now he's in the starting rotation. He's a starting guard now. Are you impressed by how he's done on the offensive line?
Yeah. No. You see, the difference here is depth.
Yeah.
And Miami can't count on one guy, and all of a sudden he goes out, and then the drop-off is just unbelievable. But my key is they can't turn the ball over. And every time they make a big play, if they look back and see a flag, because we've seen that before, where here you come up with a big play, they've got to be aggressive on defense like they were before. They have to have some blitz packages. They got to rattle them, because we know as well as anybody, everybody wants to beat Miami. And you, just like, any game on the road, a place is going to be sold out, and they're going to be very vocal because obviously they're looking to have a top 5 to 10 finish at the end of the year. So Miami's just got to go in there and play football. And if they get down, don't panic. Just try to get your way back in the game. But Miami's not a come from behind team,
Right.
so they got to kind of get out. But that's my biggest key, and I think Vish and I said that in forgot what game that he and I were doing the pregame show, and I think I said, you know what, Vish, they can't turn the ball over. If they turn the ball over,
I think ironically we had that discussion for the Duke game.
For the Duke game,
yes, that was it. That was the Duke game.
The 8 turnovers later.
Yeah. And what they do, they came out and just spilled it right to Duke.
8 turnovers.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. DJ, what are your thoughts on this game as a whole, just a matchup? And if Miami has a shot in the dark to win this game, what do they need to do?
Well, it's going to be a good measuring stick for Miami in terms of, I would be taking notes. Okay, we see a program like Clemson. What have they done to get to this point to be a, nationally ranked team? What type of depth do they have? And it's a very complex conversation, but I would definitely be taking mental notes if I was the coaching staff, kind of, okay, how did Clemson do this? Or what is Clemson good at that we can do to, continue to build the program? And then I guess as far as, Saturday is concerned, we saw 0 interceptions from Brown last Saturday. I would say to not oversimplify the game plan, but if you're Josh Gaddis, don't draw up anything too crazy, kind of ease him into things. He only threw for 136 yards. And I don't think that's going to cut it against Clemson, but also don't make him try to do anything too crazy. Let the game come to him, let him be that efficient quarterback that he was last Saturday. And, just hope for the best. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a good game to see where Miami kind of, measures up. And I'm not expecting a win, but I am expecting a relatively good game. I'm not expecting a complete blowout, but I do expect to see maybe a firework or two in terms of, Miami's offense.
What do you think, Vish? I mean, look, with if it's Jakari, although they've been talking a lot about TVD recently, that if he's healthy, if he comes out and he practices a few days, that he's going to be the guy. I don't know if that changes everything, but I think it does, but I don't know how much it does, right? I still think Jakari Brown is it's a curveball for Clemson, right? And Max mentioned that if they blitz him, this is what he's made for, right? Like this is his style of quarterback play. Is if someone blitzes me, I can get out of the pocket, I can use my legs. If they don't, are they going to drop 8, like he said, in coverage, and he's going to be able to pick him apart with the dink and dunk and maybe still get some yards? Are they going to spy someone? Are they going to put a spy on him? So from an offensive perspective, I think that's really important. What kind of concerns me is, again, just not, as Blue mentioned, not enough depth, not enough people that are on the same page on this team. I think if it gets away from them early, it could get ugly. But I think that if they hold on, if they continue to kind of like fight even throughout the half, throughout halftime, and they keep it close, it's like a 13-10 game or something like that. Then they might have an opportunity to kind of steal one, right? I don't know if that's realistic per se, but it is college football. Anything can happen. If you get hot and you find the weakness and you exploit it and you kick their ass somehow with it, you might have a shot. You might have a shot. What do you? I mean, at the end, and I know we say that. I say it. I don't know what the right, thing to say is, because we beat Georgia Tech, so everybody's like, oh wait, we got a shot at Clemson. I'm not saying it because of that, right? I'm saying it more because if we're being asked what it could take for them to win, right? Now, at the same time, is that realistic? I don't know. But if Miami had a shot to win, how could they do it? Number one, and do you see it happening? I guess. I mean, I think anything's possible, but do you see it happening?
I'll just put the second question. I'll put it this way: there's a much better chance Miami gets blown off the field and they win this game, that they lose by like 20 plus, than they actually win.
Right.
Now, how do they win? I think it's going to be the same game plan they used last week, the same one they used at Virginia, which is run the ball, play conservative, shorten the game. That's what they've got to limit possessions. It's the exact opposite, essentially, of how we played offense last year.
Right.
Deliberate, run the play clock down, give Clemson the ball less. Clemson, the one thing that could, and Blue touched on this, that could help Miami is Clemson is a high mistake team. They do turn it over quite a bit. And if you frankly just slam the ball into the line and punt and wait for them to shoot themselves in the foot, basically what Duke did to us.
Yeah, it's not going to go.
It could go that way. As Blue mentioned, Georgia Tech beat the same Duke team that blew us out because we just imploded. And Clemson has had stretches this year where they have imploded, but they're so talented they even come back and win that game too, right? They lost to Notre Dame, but other than that, I think it was Syracuse where they had 5 turnovers or whatever it was and won anyway. Right. So they might still win, but that's how if you're going to say how do you stay in this game, it's got to be playing a conservative, shorten the game, and the defense cannot give up big plays, because that's what Florida State was, everything bad at once. But when it was 14-3 in the first quarter, that game was over. Yeah. Because as Blue said, we don't have that offense to come back from that, and that's still the case, right?
Sure.
So if you can keep the score down where you can stay patient with the running game, it's definitely not going to be effective like it was last week. That's not happening. But get enough yardage out of it, avoid negative plays. Frankly, punt a lot. We have a really good punter. Try to win the field position, steal points here and there, keep it low scoring, and then maybe have a game in the fourth quarter where all of the pressure will be on them. Right. As Blue said, they're looking at a top 5 to 10 finish. They still only have the one loss, and depending on how crazy it gets, they might even still get into the playoffs. So,
and that was to a Notre Dame team that keeps winning. So
yeah. So that loss doesn't look as bad. That Notre Dame's also the only team that beat North Carolina. They should have moved to the ACC. They could have won the damn conference, but yet they lost to Marshall. Go figure. So that's going to be that's the only way we can win this game. It's just shorten the game, keep it low scoring, run the ball. Even if the run's not effective, stick with it, because you can't have these 3-and-out 30-second possessions where you throw a bunch of incompletions and punt. That's not going to work. And then our safeties need to continue to play well, because they weren't great against Florida State. We got beat over the top a few times. It'll only take a few big plays for Clemson to sink the whole thing, because we can't play catch up.
Right.
So you got to make sure you don't give it the big plays and play physical too. Just I don't think we're gonna win. In fact, I'd be surprised if it's even one possession game. I'd be shocked. But
they're 20-point favorites right now.
Yeah, right? and I think that's probably, I would frankly, if I had to bet, I would bet on Clemson to win by more than that, just based on what we've seen this year. Now, with that said,
thankfully you're not a betting man.
No, otherwise I'd be broke, because I picked us to win quite a few times this year. So. But I will say what I'm looking for out of this game is just acquit yourselves well, play well, play hard, play 4 quarters, hit them, tackle, that kind of stuff. They're better than us. They're going to win anyway, most likely. But that doesn't mean you can't go out there and do yourselves proud. Remember, before the Florida State game, we had Donald Bennett on talking about how his proudest moment against Florida State was actually the game that he lost.
Right.
He was in wide right 1 and wide right 2. The those were not the ones he picked. He picked a game at Florida State on that Charlie Ward team that won the national championship and said, we lost, but we played hard, and I was proud of the team. That's what I want out of this game.
Speaking of playing hard and the safety's doing a good job, how impressed are you with Markeith Williams? Did you like what you saw out of him? I know it's at the end of the game. It's a blowout win already, but
who cares?
But I mean, who cares, right? He laid the wood on some kids. I think he gains 10, 15 pounds, and it's going to be hard to keep him off the field, man. The kid looks good. I think he's the kind of guy that's going to play safety here for a few years, and it's going to be nice to see him and Wes and Cam on the field together. You saw Nigel, even though he made that boneheaded play at the end with the personal foul. Man, Nigel Kelly is a stud, and we all talked about how good he can be. And he's just getting more and more playing time now, and I just don't see how he's not going to be a staple on this defense next year. It's going to be interesting. You're probably going to see a lot of them this game. You're probably going to see a lot from those. Maybe not Markeith, but you're going to see Nigel Lee. You're going to see Wes a lot. Wes is now officially. Mario did say this. He is officially a starting linebacker now with Corey. So him and Corey Flagg are the starting linebackers now for this team, which is really impressive. But I look at him, and I know we're kind of going off of the Clemson thing now, but I look at Wes, and I stand him next to Harold Perkins. They look very similar in the way that they look, the way they play. And I'm not comparing him to Harold Perkins right now because Harold Perkins is an absolute stud. But Wes is right there, right behind him. And it's funny because I just saw something on Twitter that said that the top two safeties in coverage this year's top two safety duo in coverage by rankings, some sort of ranking, was actually Cam Kitchens and James Williams, which kind of surprised me. But I think James is the kind of kid that if he cleans up some things, he can be an absolute stud as well. But I just kind of wanted to mention Markeith because we were talking about the safeties. Vish mentioned the safeties have to continue to play well, but I think that if he gains a couple of pounds, he might. I mean, he could be a starter next year if you ask me, alongside Cam. So that could get interesting. Anyways, thank you guys for coming on the show. Like I said, we will be doing the Alzheimer's walk on Saturday morning, and then quite possibly could do a pregame show, maybe from the watch party location. We might be able to do it there. That'd be kind of cool if we can do a watch party location show. Blue, I know you're up north, but you're always more than welcome to come down to the watch party. We'll probably do it at Miller's Ale House. So you're more than welcome to come by and hang out with us and watch the game there. We'll have a couple of us there watching it, and obviously Evan, who's the restaurant.
Evan can't watch the show because Evan's working right now at Miller's Ale House, but he manages.
He will. He'll help us out. He'll give us some chairs, some tables, and stuff. So, obviously, DJ, no chance. But hey, you're always welcome to, brother.
Leave now, DJ. Leave now.
You're like 1,000 miles away. Sorry, bud.
One of these days I'll come down. Maybe January or February when it gets cold up here.
Let's do it, baby. Hell yeah.
We do have a still yet to be defined. Everyone show up at DJ's house for one of these Boston College games. So.
Oh man,
when is that? Next year?
Do they play Boston College next year?
It's next year. They're every year now. So
I think me, Blue, and Vish should take a trip up there to Boston and watch that game.
The Three Stooges come visit DJ.
Wow! Just took a shot right at us.
The real question is,
I'm Larry.
You're Larry? Yeah. I was gonna say you're Larry. Who's Curly and Mo, right? That's the
Jazz, you're Mo, Vish, you're Curly.
All right.
I'm the guy that everyone starts yelling about on the internet, like they're not supposed to be that color.
That's funny.
Oh man, thank you guys. Appreciate it. You guys are always awesome. Big shout out to Max for coming on the show, and I promise we'll talk about Cam Kitchens earlier on the show next time.
Let's hope we have a reason to.
Yeah, a good reason, a positive reason. We'll see you guys on Saturday for the pregame. Take it easy, fellas.
The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rings Kane Show.